Welcome, everyone, to episode 5 of the Positive Revolution Show. I'm your host, Dr. O, and I want to thank everyone for all the great feedback on the past episodes. Even though there have been so many negative things in the news lately, with the terrible COVID situation in India and other Asian countries, to the Israeli and Hamas conflict, to the horrible flooding going on in China, there are tons of inspiring and positive things going on in the world, and we must not ignore the terrible things happening, but we must be motivated by the positive things to take action and create positive change. So let's not waste any more time, and let's first talk about the importance of positive leadership. Now, a key part of the positive revolution is having a positive mindset and also being a positive leader. Positive leadership is a critical skill and behavior to encourage others to do extraordinary things. And a great book that explains this is from author Kim Cameron called Positive Leadership: Strategies for Extraordinary Performance, where Cameron outlines what is required to develop and implement positive leadership within the book. So how do you develop positive leadership? Unfortunately, most people are usually drawn to negative experiences and pay more attention to fixing the damage rather than putting the focus on the possible benefits the experience can have. And this is why positive leadership is not the most frequently used style of leadership. However, the 4 strategies outlined in Cameron's book have significant impact on individuals and organizations. It may take time to retrain people into focusing more on the positive than on the negative, but implementing the strategies can have huge rewards. Each individual strategy can have great gains when used in an organization. The 4 strategies, they're not independent of each other. They tend to overlap and interrelate with one another. Cameron identifies those 4 leadership principles that associate with the strategies in order to help leaders facilitate positive deviance. Number 1, positive leaders enable extraordinary performance by fostering a positive work environment. Number 2, positive leaders enable extraordinary performance by fostering positive relationships among members. And number 3, positive leaders enable extraordinary performance by fostering positive communication. And finally, number 4, positive leaders enable extraordinary performance by associating the work being done with positive meaning. Cameron's book is the perfect guide for leaders who wish to take the positive approach. It's easy to read and relate to, and it also provides great strategies that can be carried out easily. The book provides not only the strategies, but also why they are effective and the results they bring. Now, to become a truly positive revolutionist, you need to work on self-improvement and become a positive leader. So read and implement Cameron's book, Positive Leadership: Strategies for Extraordinary Performance, to become a positive leader. Remember, positive leadership, it often results in a higher job satisfaction, improved well-being, increased engagement with others, higher performance, stronger, more cohesive teams, increased innovation and experimentation, a team focused on lifelong learning, and of course, higher performance. And positive leadership is not about just smiling and thinking everything will be fine. It's also not about making sure you only give praise or making sure everyone gets a gold star or never criticizing people or not worrying about problems and obstacles or just being enthusiastic. There's more to it than that. And leadership is not about position or title. It's about empowering people. And it's about leading by example, walking the talk. It's about improving yourself, setting a positive example, and providing a positive, supportive environment. And this is exactly what the positive revolution is aimed at. And remember, creating positivity has a significant impact on your physical health, your mental health, social relationships, and of course, work productivity. Unfortunately, there's a bias towards negativity. A systematic bias exists in people that shows that the occurrence of negative factors is more powerful than positive factors. So be sure to foster positive energy. Remember, energy is 4 times more powerful than information and influence. Advocate for, nurture one person. Focus on the teams. Focus on abundance gaps. People get consumed by problems and obstacles. Youth strengthen a new way. Celebrate what goes right. Problems usually dominate our attention. Write gratitude cards or keep a positive journal. And finally, don't kill new ideas. Give them an opportunity to grow. Use phrases like, I like your idea. Let's see how we can get over this one snag. Or, I like the idea. My one concern is so-and-so. First, state what you like about the idea, then note some points you wish can be improved. Remember, positive leadership is about encouraging others. And when we kill ideas, we create a negative, debilitating situation. So I really recommend read Cameron's book, learn what it takes to become a positive leader, and start focusing on the positive and not the negative, and creating teams that achieve extraordinary performance. There are so many terrible things going on around the world. It's easy to forget about all the positive things happening. And that's why I think it's important to include positive news in each episode. The first item I found was research into how the thousands of miles of canals in California that move clean water throughout the state can be paired with solar panels to generate solar power and save water. California's water system is one of the largest in the world, and it brings critical water resources to over 27 million people. And researchers found that shading the canals would lead to a reduction in evaporation of water, kind of like keeping your glass of water under the shade instead of out in the open on a hot summer day. It prevents evaporation from stealing sips in your cup. Putting up a solar panel using trusses or suspension cables to act as a canal's umbrella is what makes the double whammy of a solar canal. Researchers estimate a yearly savings of 63 billion gallons of water. And unfortunately, saving water might not be enough of a motivator to make the project become reality due to the projected high costs. However, it's a great idea that hopefully will spur other ideas to make the idea viable. And this video, it's hilarious. If you want to get noticed and not ignored, you need to do something different to get people's attention. And this person who was handing out flyers in China had to come up with a better idea than just his silly costume. So he decided to lay down and have people come to him to get the flyer. It's just another great way to look at something from a new perspective and try out a new idea. I love this kind of stuff. Or how about when Ottawa Senators forward Tim Stutzel scored his first career NHL hat trick, becoming the youngest player in the team's history to record a hat trick. He was just 19 years old in 113 days. Unfortunately, there was no fans in the stands to throw their hat in celebration, which is how hat tricks or 3 goals in one game are typically celebrated. So a few days later, local kids brought their hats to him. The kids in his neighborhood surprised him by throwing hats over his fence to make sure he knew that even though they were not in the stands due to COVID, they were still supporting him. It's a pretty cool, what a great neighborhood. And let's now talk about an amazing person. I always focus on amazing people in these episodes, and Chuck Feeney's goal was to give all of his billions of dollars away before he died. Now, Chuck, he was born in Elizabeth, New Jersey in 1931 during the Great Depression. His mother was a hospital nurse, and his father was an insurance underwriter. But he made his fortune selling luxury, duty-free goods to travelers across the world. But he rejected the trappings of wealth himself. He was inspired by Andrew Carnegie's essay, Wealth, which stated that to die rich is to die disgraced. So Chuck went on to found the Atlantic Philanthropies in 1982, which was an international organization set up to distribute his funds to good causes and projects all over the world. The foundation's main areas of interest are health, education, reconciliation, and human rights. Known as the James Bond of philanthropy, I love it. He lives modestly in an apartment in San Francisco. He's got about $2 million left for his personal use. And he's 90 years old and he's still giving away his money. I mean, so far he's donated over $9 billion to charities around the world. And as we see billionaires like Bill Gates buying multiple ridiculous mansions and Jeff Bezos buying a $500 million yachts, as well as multimillionaire music and sport figures buying ostentatious jewelry, cars, and mansions, Mr. Feeney is a great example of giving back while still enjoying life. You need to be like Chuck. So now, from a cool person to cool stuff, let's review a couple of great innovations and products that I found in terms of cool stuff. Being a certified lifelong geek, I love finding cool new products and services to inspire me as well as let me share with everyone else. And the first cool thing that I found was a new packaging prototype, which looks like conventional plastic, but it's actually made from fish waste and algae. And unlike plastic, if it gets into the ocean, a fish could pretty much eat it and be safe. The material is called Marina Tex, and it won the James Dyson Award in 2019. Unlike some compostable plastics, which need to be processed in an industrial composting facility to break them down, this new material can break down in a backyard compost bin. Designed by Lucy Hughes, when she was just a student, she had visited a fish processing plant to see the massive quantity of waste generated by the industry. And she wanted to find new ways to use it, and she focused on fish skins and scales. And she said when she had them in her hands, she realized this was the potential. They were super strong, flexible, and pliable. And she spent months experimenting with fish waste in her kitchen, running more than 100 experiments to find a binder and a process that could hold together the proteins in the fish skins and scales. She said, I had a lot of failed attempts. A lot of things either went too brittle or too gooey or somewhat moldy. But she finally landed on a type of algae that can be locally sourced. The material can be used to replace oil-based plastics and packaging, such as bags or translucent windows, that are used to show products in boxes. And as her research continues, she says that she'll be studying how Marina Tex works as a barrier and how long it can be used to store food. Another great thing is Johnson & Johnson's new line of Band-Aids, which are designed to match different skin tones. And it's about time that such a great idea was used. Band-Aids have always been for those with lighter skin tones. And people have petitioned Johnson & Johnson for more options. So now they've unveiled their Our Tone adhesive bandages line in shades of brown. And the bandages come in 3 shades, from light brown to dark brown. And these are great product designs to ensure the product meets the needs of a variety of users. Now they just need to come out with a gray line to match my pasty white skin. I really need to get outside more. And the final cool thing is this ad I found from 1939, which shows how flour mills starting added floral designs to the wheat sacks as they realized many women were using the sacks to make dresses for themselves and their daughters. And what was really cool was the labels on the sacks would wash out, so just the flower pattern would remain. A great way to reuse the packaging and address a market need during the Great Depression. And before we wrap up this episode, let's review a great book that provides amazing examples of positive leadership. A great example of positive leadership is another excellent book from Kim Cameron called Making the Impossible Possible: Leading Extraordinary Performance, The Rocky Flats Story. The most contaminated nuclear weapons plant in the country, Rocky Flats was an environmental disaster and the site of rampant worker unrest. Although estimates projected that cleaning up and closing the facility would take 70 years and $36 billion, the project was completed 60 years ahead of schedule and $30 billion under budget. And the site became a wildlife refuge. It's really amazing. It's right outside Denver, Colorado. And this book explains how this amazing feat was accomplished and how other organizations can apply the same methods to achieve breakthrough levels of performance. The authors discovered that the Rocky Flats leaders used a distinctive abundance approach, identifying and building on sources of strength, resilience, and vitality. It's really a great book. I've read it multiple times. And rather than simply solving problems and overcoming difficulties, they focused on those 3 points. And drawing on numerous firsthand accounts and public records, the authors identified 21 specific leadership practices and key techniques that were fundamental to this innovative approach. And this fascinating and thoroughly researched case study provides a complete guide for anyone wanting to better understand and apply the lessons of this remarkable history-making achievement. This book, it's a great example of how positive leadership can literally make the impossible possible. So be sure to read both of Kim Cameron's books and start becoming an authentic, positive leader. Well, that's a wrap on episode 5. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please share with your friends and family and hit the subscribe button. Be sure to check out the links in the show notes to learn more about positive leadership, the cool products we discussed, and of course, Chuck Feeney. So be sure to email me any suggestions and questions. And as the positive news stories demonstrated, we all need to take action and drive positivity in the world. It's so important nowadays. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you again next week, same time, same place.